Good afternoon, and welcome to Drexel Libraries Wednesday webinar series. The topic that we're going to be visiting today is the Psycinfo Database. I have been using Psycinfo in one form or another since I started my librarian career back more than 30 years ago. And at that time, we had what was called the PsycLit database on a set of CD-ROMs. So anyone wanting to use it came into the library, checked out the CD-ROMs at the circulation desk, and used them at a dedicated computer station. So obviously, we've come pretty far from there. So let me share my screen to you, and while we're there, I will talk a little bit about what Psycinfo is and the important information to know about it. It is the premier database for the field of psychology and behavioral sciences. Created by the American Psychological Association. It contains citations and abstracts to journal articles, books, including individual book chapters and dissertations, and some citations, believe it or not, date as far back as the 16th century. It's part of a family of related databases, all produced by APA. Psych articles, which links into Psycinfo pretty seamlessly, is the APA's database of the full text of their journals. Psych books is, as you would assume, books in psychology, including more than 1,600 classic and landmark historical books. So that's where you get the items back into the 1500s. And then there's psych tests, which indexes psychological measures, scales, surveys, and other instruments, many of which you can also find research about in Psycinfo. Now, Psycinfo is available either directly from APA on their own APA network or through various database search platforms. Our subscription for Psycinfo happens to be through EBSCO. But if you are at other institutions, you might encounter it on different database search platforms. So some of what I'm showing you today is going to be specific to the EBSCO version, but the underlying information about the database holds true. So give me a second. I'm going to get this opened up. I'm cheating, going to our Health Sciences Resources page, because for me, that's the fastest way to get to it. But of course, you can also find it on our database's A to Z list. So when you first enter Psycinfo, it's showing you the advanced search screen, which is the easiest place to work most of the time. And as with many databases, you can search in a couple of different ways. You can do a fairly simple text word search right from here. So for example, I could type in that I'm looking for articles about group therapy and social skills. And as with many databases, I just put those in quotation marks to glue them together as phrases. Now down here in the search history, it's showing me my results. I've got 482 citations, and I can scroll down and just start looking at them. And as I go through, as with any EBSCO database, I can mark the little file icon over to the side to save this as a citation or an article I want to come back to. Now, what I want to do now is I'm just going to pick one citation and open up the record. Because here, by looking at all of the fields in this record, you can get an idea of some of the different ways that you can search. The title, of course, you can search by author names, the source or the journal title it came from. If you see keywords in a record, that generally means these are keywords that were identified and provided by the author. We have the abstract, of course, with terms that I searched for highlighted. And then down here, you have the actual subject terms. These are the descriptors that are assigned by the APA indexers using terminology from the APA thesaurus, which is really just a systematic dictionary of subject heading terms. And then as we go down, we can see additional ways that this is indexed. Population tags, human, male, female, age groups, methodologies. And this is a search field that is really useful, especially for students who have been assigned to find a particular type of research article. Psycinfo Classification is also a really useful field to look at. These are very broad categories arranged hierarchically that can be a very useful way of narrowing down a search when you're getting too many results. And I'll circle back later and show how you can use those for searching. Over here to the left of my results, I can see a lot of options for filtering or limiting. And as you could see, many of those were options that were showing up in the database fields. We'll come back and use some of those in our next search. Now, this was a text word search. But I'm going to circle back and search for that same topic using the system of subject headings. I can do that either by opening up the thesaurus, that's always a word that trips you up, from this top bar, or I can just use this suggest subject terms option. When I type in group therapy here and hit search, now instead of searching for that phrase, it's showing me possible matches in the thesaurus of subject headings. So out of all of the options that it's showing me, it tells me right up at the top that if I'm looking for group therapy, I should use group psychotherapy. So I'm going to come down here and open that up. And what it's showing me now is the year this started to be used. Sometimes there's also a brief definition. Then it shows me narrower terms, and it shows me related terms that I might want to include in my search. So I'm going to choose group psychotherapy, and I'm going to explode it, which only means that I'm also going to search these narrower terms that are included. But when I look at these related terms, I'm thinking, maybe I also want to look at support groups. And the plus there tells me that there are narrower terms for that. So I'm going to mark that explode again for that term. So now that I have these selected, I'm going to add them to my search box up here. Now you notice that there's a little pull down here that lets me choose or and. And because I'm choosing terms that are all related to the same concept, I want to connect them all with or. So they're all up here in my search box, and now I'm going to do the search. So we've got nearly 29,000 articles about group therapy, but I'm going to come back and do the same process for social skills. Now, right here, I can see social skills and social skills training as terms that I might want to include. So I'm just going to choose those right from here. And again, put them in the search box and do my search. The DE showing here just means that this is searched as a descriptor. So I've got almost 29,000 articles about group therapy. I've got 19,000 about social skills. So I'm going to select those and put them together. And this time I'm combining them using and, because I want to find the articles that are in both groups. And I've got a result of 319 articles here. Now this time when I scroll down to look at them, I want to look at some ways that I can filter this search. And I could either go down this list here, but what I usually find easier, and this holds true on all of the EBSCO databases, right under this publication bar is a show more link. And when I click on that, it opens up all of my filter options at once. So I could include things at this point, such as I want peer-reviewed articles, which would by default limit me to journal articles. Maybe I don't want to go back as far as the citations I'm seeing. So I'm saying start with the year 2000. So it'll give me about 20 years worth. I could make that narrower going by month as well if I wanted to. But let's come down here and say that we want to look at a specific age group. We want to look at group therapy for social skills, for adolescents, and young adults. And what I did was just hold down the control key so I could select two options here. Now, I'm not going to worry about choosing human over here. I don't know of many group therapy sessions done with cats. I could designate male or female, but let's just take a look at what we get. So now I've got the publication year limited, and I'm looking at citations that include subjects that are between 3 and 17 years or between 18 and 29 years. And I'm wording it that way because some of the studies might also include people who are older or younger, but we know that at least some of the subjects in each of the articles includes people in these ages. So looking at our results again, and of course, some of them we saw in the first group. Again, as I'm looking through these, I can mark them using the folder icon. I can mouse over the abstract, or if I click on the title of the article, I can see the full record. You'll notice that for some of the articles, the PDF is linked right there. So right from here, I can open up this full article on Lego therapy. For many of the others, there isn't a PDF link, but our Drexel full text link is here. And of course, the way that that works, as it does in all of the databases, is that it takes me from my Psycinfo results, sometimes to our Dragon search system, and sometimes directly to the article in another journal collection. So here's the full text of this article for me. Now, I mentioned those classification codes, and I want to show you one of the most really useful ways to use them. As I said, they're broad subject categories that can be used to focus in a search. Let's say that I'm trying to search for information about the Beck Depression Inventory. If I just search for it this way, I've got nearly 18,000 results because I'm going to find every single article that has used the Beck Depression Inventory. And actually, let me come down here because I've still got all of my limits set. And I want to take those, I want to take those off. So I'm going to reset that and redo my search. Yeah, so actually 47,000 articles that mention the Beck Depression Inventory. But what I'm looking for are articles about the inventory itself, about how it was validated, the research that it was done to create it. So I'm going to take us back to the start screen for the advanced search, because this is another place that I can put filters on. This is sort of pre-filtering instead of post-filtering. And I'm going to come down here to my classification codes. And it's a little hard to see, but they're numerical and hierarchical. So we have 2,200 for psychometrics, statistics, and methodology. And if you look underneath it, we've got 2220, 2221, and so on, all the way down until we switch over to human experimental psychology. If I choose this 2200, all of the articles I find are going to focus on testing methodologies themselves, not as they're used in different studies. So if I come back up here and do my same search again for the Beck Depression Inventory, now I've got 119 results instead of 47,000. And these are more likely to be articles that are about developing psychological assessment instruments. So here we're comparing depression scales. So again, those classification codes are just a really useful way of narrowing down a very broad search to a much more specific area. The other one that I've often found very useful is, let me come back down here to the list. If we scroll down a ways, let me see where I can find it. Psychological and physical disorders, instead of trying to search for those all individually, you can use that classification code. There is also a comparable code for health and mental health treatment. So again, rather than trying to brainstorm all of the possible treatment modalities that you might use for a specific disorder, you can use that as a very broad category. So that in a nutshell is Psycinfo. As I said, I've been searching this database for more than 30 years now. So I would certainly invite anyone who is trying to use it, if you're running into difficulties, please don't hesitate to contact me and I would be happy to help you. And I will thank you very much for watching our video.